Well, hello, everyone. I am so glad to be here once again with my girlfriends. My name is Adenyke, and you are welcome to the season finale of my Take Chat show. This has been season 2, and it's been an amazing time. Before I go further, it's been a busy season. I'm talking about my ladies are busy women, and guess what? Against all odds, everybody was able to make it on today's episode, even if it's just for a little while. But it's good to see everyone. Let me have everyone say a quick hello before we go on. Start with Tosin.
Hello, everyone.
Hi everyone, Lola here.
Hello, everyone. This is Tutu.
Hi, it's Jumi.
Hi, this is Faye. How are you all? Good to see you.
Excellent. Thank you to all those who have joined us. Tosin, Faye, Jumoke, Tutu, Lola. I cannot believe we've been on this interesting journey, and we have come to the end of season 2. I must say it has been fun. It has been a great, just been a great time, just really talking, engaging. We've had some amazing guests, who have joined us. We've had some of our my take chat show ladies who make guest appearances. Shout out to Dami, who has been fantastic in this season's episode. And today we're going to be rounding up on a topic we've been talking about for a while, which is debunking relationship myths 2. So part 2. But before I go about doing that, I just want to just talk again about what the spirit behind, my take show is. It's really a place for us, as ladies, as men, as people in our different walks of life, a place where we can come together and chat and have some very, what I call hot conversations, right? Honest, open, transparent conversations. We talk about life. We talk about the issues around us. We talk about the things we see in the media, how it impacts us. But more importantly, we provide our 2 cents to it in a way that we feel that we can be, honest, open, not critical, not judging, but at the same time be very candid, because we feel that sometimes in life, just being able to bring truth to a particular perspective is critical, and that's something I think that I love about my take show. Apart from the fact that the ladies that we have here are very feisty, we bring different points of view. So offline, OMG, conversations are amazing. But even online, I've learned so much from everyone here, and I'm really excited. On today's episode, which is our final episode, we wanted to just round up our debunking series as we finish, relationship myths part 2. And guess what, audience? Please feel free to chime in. Please feel free to share your thoughts. Let's know what you think, and let's engage as we normally do. Hi, good to see you guys. I wanted us to really talk about when it comes to the issue of relationships. We've touched on it a bit, but I must say, and I'm sure most of the ladies here will agree with me, that it's very difficult for us to go probably 6 to 8 weeks without a story popping up somewhere, either on social media, in the news, in the press, or things that are out there, where we see time and time again stories about completely dysfunctional relationships, that you can see an element of emotional abuse, and at the very extreme, emotional and physical abuse. And it's one we've talked about several times, and just very recently having in the media play out again. For those who've been following, in the US, there was a story of a young couple that were dating, and went on holiday together. Brian and I think Gabby. And at a particular point in time, what was amazing about it was Gabby was taking loads of videos of their experiences, and she ended up capturing some very interesting parts of their relationship that she had probably never thought in her wildest dreams would make it to the view of the whole world. But bottom line, trip over, Brian returns home, no Gabby. And of course, the whole nation was transfixed until, unfortunately, with the remains of Gabby was found. Brian searching for him. After weeks, his remains were found. But just putting 2 and 2 together, it was an abusive relationship. Most likely, he unfortunately, to all intents and purposes, may have been involved in her in her murder, and maybe whatever happened to him. I said all of this just to talk about the fact that, as unfortunate as this is, it's not new. We see it every day. So the main one I want us to debunk today is, why do people think that they can change another person in a relationship, especially when they see the famous red flags we've talked about on multiple sessions? How do people, when they spot abusive, or maybe I should step back, how can you tell this is an abusive relationship? We've talked about it before, but I think it behooves talking about it a bit more. And why do people think when they see red flags, they can fix it, they can change it? Is this a myth? Or are we overblowing this, issue? Because it's the frequency of how we see it play out is unbelievable. I've said a lot just to introduce this, so I'm happy to just throw the ball out to the one person that I know will be like, why are you going to ask me first, Jimmy?
Yep. Why are you going to ask me first? But yes, I really don't know why people think they could, merge the ideal they have in their mind with what is in front of them, and how and why they feel like they could that the person would change, or they could change the person. I really, really don't know. But I think with everything you've said, we can't not stop talking about this, even with our children, with our younger ones. I think just talking and creating that awareness is key. Giving examples of what, because sometimes when we throw the word, the phrase, the red flags to look out for and things like that, people don't really know what that means. Sometimes they think it's the glaring, if he slaps you, or if he pushes you or shoves you. They don't think about the subtle, not so obvious things to look out for. So I think speaking about it and just reinforcing not wanting to change somebody and paying attention to details will make a huge impact. I think for when we were little girls, playing with our dolls and things, we always had this image subconsciously of what we wanted, wanted the husband, the children. We've always been groomed that way. I think without even being aware of it, that this is where you should be at a certain point in life. So you go to school, you get married or whatever. So the willingness to want to achieve that can tend to cloud our judgment. So talking about it, speaking about it with our children, even with this Gabby situation, it was so unfortunate to see that video with the when the cops pulled them over. It just broke my heart. Her parents she had both of our parents. I know they're remarried or whatnot. I mean, that shouldn't really have anything to do with it. But I was just wondering, did anybody really speak to this girl? Did anybody really check in with her? Did anybody really ask tough questions? It was just sad. It really, really broke my heart. But yeah, I don't know why we think we could change someone. But I think just talking about it and reinforcing, paying attention to details will help.
Absolutely. I mean, happy for anyone to jump in, but absolutely.
Yeah, I really want to jump in because I think, looking at that Gabby and Brian story, it almost seemed to me that even she was trying to change herself, right? So a lot of time, I mean, the way that I see an abusive relationship, if you're in a relationship where somebody's where you can't be who you are, or where somebody's trying to change you, you're in an abusive relationship fundamentally. I remember when I was in college, one of my friends had she had really beautiful hair. Her hair was full, and then all of a sudden her hair was now flat. She was always straightening it. Meanwhile, she always had her full hair out, and she was changing herself, because this guy she was with, and she's a pretty girl, and this guy she's with was saying, "Oh, why can't you do your hair like this? Why can't you look like this?" And and back then, even though we were quite young, I was like, I'm not sure that this is the right relationship for you. Why must you change yourself for this guy? And I think fundamentally, any relationship you're in where you can't be your real self is an abusive relationship. End of story. And if you look at Gabby in that video with the police officer, she kept saying, "Oh, I'm OCD. I'm very particular. It's all my fault." She was busy crying. She was busy saying, "Oh, I think it's my fault. I'm very annoying. I'm very this. I'm very that." So they were obviously in a dysfunctional relationship. The police told her that probably this was not the best idea. In fact, told both of them to spend the night apart and think about themselves in terms of this relationship. Unfortunately, they continued on this path to destruction, which was really unfortunate. But I think everybody needs to check themselves. So it's not even about bothering about whether you want to change somebody else. You yourself, are you able to be yourself in that relationship? If you are not, then please, there's no point in continuing that relationship, because there's only so much you can do to change yourself. I mean, the only way we can change is by God. But if your innate nature is one way and somebody wants to make you something else, it's not a good relationship to be in.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also like to chime in there too that, I totally agree with what you and Jumoke just talked about. And I think oftentimes too, we tend to focus a lot on the person being abused and not enough on the abuser. I mean, if we really think about these people, they really are narcissists, like manipulative people that really choose who they pick. I mean, they don't pick the strong person that will punch them back, right? Or if you tell me one, I'll tell you two back. They don't select those ones. They look carefully for the ones that they know have a certain need, are needy, want to be loved, want to give love, have a heart to help, have a heart to just accept and love people with their faults. And those are the ones they tend to choose, and those are the ones they tend to manipulate. That's why, it's so important how we raise our kids, how we raise our girls, how we raise our sons too, because sons too are in those relationships as well, that we don't talk enough about the guys that get abused by women. But building their confidence, pumping into them, speaking into them from a little age so that nobody can come and just tell them something nonsense. That's the first point I wanted to make. The second one I wanted to make too is that a lot of these relationships, when it's happening, the woman or the man that is being abused in there tend to focus on the good times, and the abuser puts enough good times in there where they use that to they hold on to that, they remember that, and they're like, okay, this situation, and they use it as to make an excuse, like, oh, 80% of the time it's good, we're fun, we're happy, everything is going well. It's just this little 20% of the time, that these things happen, and why throw it away for that? I was talking to my niece yesterday, and she just got out of a toxic job situation, and this is not even a relationship, it's a job where her boss was while she was in that job, she was stressed, she was losing hair, she was just a lot of things happening. And when she left the job, she was like, oh, I feel so much better, my health is better, my quality of life is better. I didn't know that I was in an abusive job situation, with her boss, till she left. And she said, there are some times that, for the most part, the job was good, but there's sometimes that the boss would say something or say things that would just affect my self-esteem. And I liken that to a relationship. A lot of times, you remember the good times. You remember the times when things are the way you want it to be, and you tend to minimize the bad times. And I think that's what makes people stay in there longer than they should.
Okay. I wanted to, I totally agree with every single thing you guys have said. But two things I wanted to mention is, I was watching a series on Netflix, and every time the brother would get in trouble, the sister felt she needed to save him and do certain things. And, a couple of people around her didn't understand why she needed to save her brother every single time. Either he relapsed in drinking or smoking or whatever. It was until they introduced the mother character. And anytime something happened with this brother, the mom will blame the sister. So she had been groomed from a young age that your brother is your responsibility to take care of, and whatever problems he has, you have to be there for him, and that's your job. So we have all these girls or guys even that it's your job. You don't leave, you deal. He's abusive, you can bring him out of it. You don't quit. So they're groomed in this manner from a very young age. That's one thing I picked out from that series. Another thing is, we have to understand that the devil is a very bad devil. Okay. So there are spirits behind every single thing. The reason why some people stay is because there's a spirit holding them there to stay. There's a spirit. Why do they go back? There's a spirit. That is the reason why you pray for every single thing. I remember very well in middle school when my daughter had this friend, and they were so close that my daughter got in trouble so many times. And, you know, we would be so upset with her. They would call us in the school and everything. It was until I got on my knees and started praying that, God, whatever it is that is bounding my daughter to this friend, please break it. I didn't even have to talk much. Before I knew it, the girl relocated from the school. So there's a spirit behind everything. Why do some people go back? We just can't scratch our heads. Why does she keep going back? There's a spirit that is drawing them, an evil spirit that has been assigned to them to keep them going back. Oh, don't worry, he'll be good. If I don't say these things, he'll be nice. There is an evil spirit. That is why I cannot, take out the component of praying for these things to be broken and destroyed completely, because there are demonic spirits assigned to every evil relationship or every toxic relationship. There's an evil spirit behind it. So that's another thing as to why people think they can change someone or they can deal with something until we hear what happens.
Thank you, ladies. I just wanted to add, of course, there's no way any human being can change another person. And there's this saying that if somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So in that relationship, the first time, many times people are so in love, and as they begin to see some red flags, they just wave it away and think it's a one-off. But if you ask any woman or man that is being abused, they can tell you the first time that thing happened, the first sign that they overlooked. So it could be maybe the person had an uncontrolled anger, reaction to something so small that you did, but then you just wave it away and make excuses, like all the ladies have said. So people should pay attention to that. I mean, for men and women that are currently in relationships, and then for people that are married that continue to stay, here's one of the things I like to say, that even if you don't think about yourself, think about your children. Because whether you realize it or not, these children are going to grow up and imbibe this. And, the circle is just going to continue. Either the children become abusers themselves, even though they swear they will never do that, or they become the victims in their future relationships. And it's not a curse. It's just because this is something, they've grown up to see. And I'm sure even in other areas of our lives, we do certain things and then we remember that, oh my goodness, my mom, this is exactly what my mom does. This is exactly what my dad does. It plays out in our lives. So for women or men that continue to remain in these relationships, I just want to urge them to please consider their children as well. Of course, while I believe a lot of times that it's better to stay married, but at the same time, it's not just staying married, it's also being happy and raising godly legacy, because that's actually what God has called us to be as parents. So I just want to encourage everyone, at least take your children away from that situation. Just think about those children. Thank you.
Thanks, Tutu, and everybody's contribution, amazing. I love the different angles that we really bring to this. And, if we can just, just maybe talk through some practical things, because today's, this myth that we're, pushing, debunking, it affects everybody. I mean, the way Tosi brought it from siblings being raised in a way that mentally, they could be raised with a codependency sort of, trait or outlook of life, which can be dangerous to, obviously what Lola, you were saying about, and then I think what you said about the spiritual part, but to the last point about even looking at the profile of an abuser, so that you can almost tell, how do you even spot one, you know? And I think we've touched on some very key elements. Just a couple of practical steps that I'd love for you guys to just share, maybe from your experience. I know some of us here have actually worked closely with women in that scenario. But for somebody who's listening today and they've heard this multiple times, and I think we've had these conversations, where you see for someone who is, and you can share from a person who is, you know, dating or engaged, and they've seen it, but finally the whole family is ready to go. I think we talked about it in Wedding Breakers, one of our first episodes. And today, actually, I'd love to hear your thoughts on which were your favorite episodes this season. I'm going to love to hear your thoughts. But the Wedding Breakers one was one of my, one of the ones I really enjoyed. But I remember we talked a bit about this, that are there reasons why you should, call off a wedding? And this was one of the reasons. But in terms of women that may be listening and are in an abusive relationship and knowing what we've all said, there might be a spiritual thing that makes her think she can't go through it. The person has groomed her to think about the good times. Tutu, you mentioned that, think about your children. Some people think that because of the children, they should stay because the abuser is a great parent to the children, seemingly. So sometimes it's so complicated. Are there some steps that you feel at a point a woman can take? Either, are there some practical things? I know it's going to go against the norm, and I know we've talked about it before. But if a woman needs to stage a getaway and she feels, my life could be in danger, or how will I cope? How do I survive? Or a woman listens to this, can a person just get up and go? Is it advisable? Is there supposed to be a plan when you are now in an abusive relationship? I can't remember who said, that, when you just think about the Gabby situation, that was there no one? Her parents loved her. They, at her funeral, they talked about how sweet, how kind. How did they, of course I can't say that, how did they miss, because you don't know, but people miss the signs because maybe she covered it so well. So what are some of the practical steps that you could say, maybe just one or two things that you guys feel somebody in this situation that needs to make an escape, especially if they're married, because it could be more difficult, or with children, how do they go about doing that? And how do you manage a situation where that person might be stalking you if you're single and you break up? Because I've told someone who had that reality. This person started to stalk them. What are some practical things that as women we should do, to protect yourself, protect your life, protect your children in an abusive relationship?
I would say that if you're married and you realize that you've been put in a situation where the spouse has made it difficult for you to leave, do not give any indication that you're leaving the spouse or you're planning to leave the spouse. You have to start to think about ways where you can leave without alerting the person. I mean, obviously, if it's not a critical situation, if it's critical, just carry your load and go. But one of the ways that abusers keep people in the situation is by handicapping them financially. And so if there's ways where you can start putting money aside, if you're not working, pull in your family members, let them know that this is the situation. If you're a family member that see it happening, and you know that one of the ways that your sibling or your family member is being handicapped is financially, start to help them by saving money, putting money aside, raising money for them. Find them a place where they can stay if they leave the spouse, that they will be protected. Start doing those things on their behalf, because that's one of the key ways where you think about it. Where will I go if I leave this thing? I don't know anything about the financial things. He's done it, or she has done it in a way where I'm not working. I haven't been working. I don't have any money of my own. I don't have any assets to my name. If I take my kids and go, what would I do with them? How would I pay their school fees? Like, that's the position in which they usually are in. And so if you know that this thing, I can't stay in there, it's not good for my health, it's not good, that is one of the primary ways, is to pull people in to start to figure out that plan B of where you can raise money financially for when you do go, so that you have somewhere to go. That would be like my number one advice. And there are many resources online. There are women's shelters. There are many, many nonprofits, at least in the US. I don't know about other countries, where they will help you to do this. Once you go there, the first step is just admitting that you need the help and you want to make that change. And then there are many support systems in place for women in domestic violence, or even men in domestic violence situations. So I think that would be the first second step after admitting you need to make a change. Is to empower yourself to be able to leave the situation.
Yeah. And, piggybacking to what Lola said, I would also recommend that the victim in that relationship speak up, speak out. And one of the ways you can do that is you need to alert the authorities, because in part of your plans, sometimes some of the resources available, you may not be able to access them if there's no proof. So I just think, document things, at least, leave a trail, speak out, have trusted, channels. And also, I mean, depending on the level of, the kind of abusive relationship it is, like Lola said about empowering yourself, one of the things abusers do is they kill your self-esteem. So for the victim, I know it is hard, it is really hard, but please, work on your self-esteem. Hopefully, you're able to maintain that and not let that be crushed. If you need to upskill, you know maybe get some other, add skills to what you have while you are still in that relationship. These are way you're just trying to create your exit strategy, and also begin to look for work. For some people, they may be working, but they are not making enough, so the abuser is still the sole provider. So it's a time for you to begin to look for ways to retool your skills and upskill and look for work. Do that. Also, as you plan your exit, have a trusted person that has your particulars, maybe your passport, your driver's license. Just make sure you have double copies of everything, and you have it with somebody else that you trust, so that at the last minute, if you have to leave in a hurry, you can make your exit. So plan ahead, and be very, very careful about who you trust, but at least just have somebody that you trust. Have numbers for all the helplines, like Lola mentioned. And your children, of course, depending on their ages, if they're older, some of them may be old enough that you're already prepping them as well. But if you can't do it, but at least have a plan in place about how you can get your children, begin to consider schools in other areas, and talk to a professional. But one thing, if you don't remember anything else, please do not keep it to yourself. We have a culture of being silent, and then until something now happens, and everybody will be like, but I didn't know, I still saw her. Please don't be quiet. Please speak out. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say one more thing to that. One of the first things that abusers also do is to remove you, cut off your connections, remove you from loved ones. Either they'll say, oh, move you out of town to a state where you don't know anybody, or they start to ruin the relationships you have with friends, or they'll start banning your family members from coming to your house. They start to cut off those connections so that you don't have people to talk to. So, if you realize that's happening, stop it from happening. It's a red flag if you're dating and the person you're dating always has a problem with all the people around you and accusing them of one thing or another. That's a red flag. But even after you're in a relationship and you're married or something, and the person always has a problem with somebody. Oh, I don't like this person. I don't like that person. Why is this person here? I don't want this person to come. That's another red flag, to think. Sometimes you don't realize that you don't have anybody till down the line. You just realize that somehow or another all your relationships are spoiled. It's only the husband or your spouse that you have. And so reigniting those relationships, if you're in that situation, identify those that, you love and love you, and start to reach out to them, and make amends, will be a start, because those are the people at the end of the day that will be able to support you and help you when you leave.
Amazing, fantastic. I think the contributions, the strategy, the approach and everything else. Thank you so much, ladies. I think that is just amazing. And, like everyone said, you can rebuild your self-esteem, because sometimes for women, the one thing that tries to come is that emotion of shame. I've heard from some women to say, they never, I remember speaking to someone and said, I was one of the people that would say to people, you have to be strong, a woman has to be independent. And yet she could not see it when she fell into an abusive relationship. And after a while, she felt ashamed to come out, because for years, she was the one that was always like, I don't know how this can happen. Women need to empower themselves. Women need to do this. How she found herself, she couldn't believe it, and like Lola said, because she didn't realize when she was being groomed, and the picture of who she thought would be an abuser, was different. In some cases, there are people you would never, so quote unquote, imagine, and there are people that when you tell them you are being abused, they would think you are the problem, because that person just seems so nice, so kind, so sweet. So it was difficult for her to find people to really believe her. Her parents kept saying, this same, your husband was here. And, I remember a story where a person said that, and your husband came and said, your wife said this is happening, and you guys be, so even when she thought she was confiding in her parents, because they really believed the guy and they really felt it was a good guy, they opened up that she had said something, and that raised fire. So there's so many things. When we said trusted people, sometimes even your family may not be the trusted people, especially if they come from the perspective of, he takes care of us, he's one that sent your junior ones to school, so don't assume trusted people must be family, but reach out for help. And I just want to round up and say that for those, I don't have to stress it, for those who are not yet married, please don't let this burden of I want to be married cause you to be blind. Your life is worth much more, than having to, to attach yourself to someone for the rest of your life that could destroy. So I hope that, so many beautiful things, wonderful things said, if anybody wanted to add anything else, but would hopefully, as we round up this season, this is something that's heavy in our hearts. We hear it, but I think the ladies have done great justice to help us deal with it from a spiritual perspective, from a relationship perspective, from a legal perspective, and from a social perspective. And so we will just transition up and, jump up and say, as we round up season 2 of my Take Chat show, amazing. We've had some great guests. We've had some guys come on the show. Faye, what has been one of the ones you've enjoyed the most?
Oh, speaking of guys joining the show, I think my favorite one was when my guy joined the show. We were talking about my favorite topic, which is I'm not your cook and you're not my ATM. Debunking roles and responsibilities in marriage. I mean, I think for me, the reason why this it resonates so strongly with me is I'm just not a traditional woman, right? So I'm not I love to cook, I love to take care of the house, I love to do everything home care and childcare related. So, I mean, it was just by the grace of God that I married somebody that was ready to partner with me in this marriage journey. And we discussed how we make it work among ourselves by partnering. And there's no, because I'm a woman, I have to do this. And because you're a man, of course, there's some things that he has to do because he's stronger than me. But generally, we are partners. And I think it's really important to this day and age for women not to put themselves in boxes or not to allow society to dictate how they are. Men and women, to not allow society to dictate how their family should be. It's really about the both of them in that relationship. And to even just to tie into what we were saying before, if you're in a relationship and the person does not make you feel good about yourself, it's just not worth it. Huh? It needs to be a partnership where you both are each other's cheerleaders, you strengthen each other, and you go about life together. And that looks different for everybody, depending on the kind of person that you are. So there's no one size fits all. And really, the fact that we're able to discuss how we shouldn't let culture dictate how we are in relationships, I thought was very refreshing.
Oh, that was a fun session. It was
That
really
was a good one.
And trading back and forth. I like that. Anybody wants to share another of their favorite? Thanks, Faye.
I just wanted to add that yesterday I was having a conversation with friends about my daughter, and we were just talking, we have daughters that are kind of similar. I think that both of them might as well have been Faye's daughters, you know, because we're talking about how different they are and just very different, and how they already who they are. We could see them, you know, they're still teenagers, but we could see, you know, certain traits. And when Faye was speaking, I was just piggybacking on what we were talking about earlier, and in raising our children, but in this case, our daughters. I already know how my daughter is. I already know certain things about her, even though she's not an adult yet. But knowing that actually helps guide them as well. So in the future, when they start, you know, dating, forming relationships and things like that, you can help them. You know them. You already know them. So if they go and pick some traditional man that wants her, and you see, all of a sudden, I see Abisola pounding yam, I know there's a problem. You know, we know it's not going to work. That is not her. You know, I already know. So if you know your children, you know, and you know that, okay, you could see without knowing, you know, we can't predict the future, but you already know certain, you know, with these gender roles. I think my daughter is going to lean towards something like this. And you now see her, you know, as a 20-year-old, and it's complete opposite of what you know her to be or him to be. That serves as a guide. So that just, you know, triggered for me, like, oh, I already know how she is. She's 16, and you know, she's not you know, she's not like that. So when she, you know, when they're trying to get out of character of who they are, it will be obvious to the parent.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to add that.
I think that's a great point. That really is a great point. And it just flags the responsibility for us as parents as we continue to pray for them, you know, pray for our children. That, you know, it's funny, you know, when we say these things that, you know, excuse me, my husband and I were talking about something completely different but similar this morning, and we made reference to one of our kids about that, and we said we already know how this one will be. We know this one is the one that, you know, and we made a comment like that. And I said to him, I said, but isn't it funny how when our parents are trying to advise us then, we thought we know it, it's okay, we know it, that they probably were looking at us back then that I know you, this child, I know this child, you know. And back then, that's so I was saying that we need to start praying for them early, because now I can appreciate how parents can see and sense, but sometimes you feel, you know, the children want to find their own way in life. And while there's a balance, that the prayer then would be that when it comes to critical life issues, that God would soften their hearts to hear, you know, to listen, to, you know, to as we also do that from a prayerful perspective. So I think that's very important, and it just drives home that the work of a parent just never ends. You know, even when they're adults, you just keep looking out for them. You're just concerned about them. So that I like that, James. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that people, you know, some people might be confused. You know, there are times where you evolve. Okay, I want people to understand that there are times where you evolve. So if you see your child right now, because I remember very well, Bookie, one of our friends, told us that when she was younger, she didn't want to do anything. She, you know, she was just you know, out of her siblings, she was the one that just wanted to take the back seat, do whatever. But if you see her now, she's completely different, and she's in one of, you know, beautiful relationship. But what I'm saying is that I don't want us to get it confused that if you see somebody changing, that is a red flag automatically. It's not sometimes, because people do evolve and become something else. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I think that's a fantastic point to note. And so as to clarify it, if you find people changing to suit another person's expectation of them, is when it's a red flag, you know, because you should meet somebody that lives a good life, that makes you want to be a better person. We all married people because at some point our spouses, we felt better around them. I think that's why Faye kept on saying, if you're with someone that makes you feel bad about yourself, and then you are now changing to fit their image. But we should all be evolving. And one of the good things about who your potential spouse is when you are with them, you want to be better. You see life better. You want to improve yourself. That's the way it should be, you know, as well, that you're both encouraging each other to become better people. But to Tosin's point, you know, and I don't even know if she's on today. If we should go to that, our friend, you can still see that nature is still in her, you know, because she's very, when things are too much, forget it, Jerry. She has her own, way. So it's so interesting that you said that our basic nature is there, but we all evolve, we all become better, and that's what we should focus on. And anything that makes us want to change to conform to another person's image goes against we as women of faith, because we believe we should be conformed to only the image of one, which is our Lord Jesus Christ, and that's what we stand for here, as much as possible as well. So
Can I
yeah.
just add something, please? I just wanted to add for our single ladies. Please, I think sometimes there's a culture, especially for I don't want to say the older ones, but I've seen that happen with the older single ladies. When they start dating or they're in a relationship with someone, they don't. And I know timing is key, with the introduction of the person that you're dating to your friends. But I want to point it out that it's actually very important you bring whoever you're dating around your friends, especially friends and family members that know you. The reason I say this is because the abuser, if you're hiding or keeping that person away, a typical abuser or somebody that wants to take advantage of you likes that. They don't want to meet anyone. So before you know it, you might be pregnant or you're already walking down the aisle to marry them. It's too late, because people that know you, they can easily pick out things or ask questions that will make you open up, and you tell them about this person, and they could help you. I said that because I spoke to two people in the past month or so that are divorced now, and even though they were married at the point I met them, speaking to them, I already knew just the way they would say things casually, or they just chatting away, and you are picking up those signs. So when I told her, the last time I was speaking to, I said, I mean, we already knew. And she was like, yeah, the other, a lot of people were telling me they already knew, that I was we knew, okay? Sometimes it's not a case of where somebody is shocked. We know things that you are saying that you think is normal is not normal, okay? Like the example of the hair Faye gave, it's not normal. You might think it's normal, it's not. So if you're now dating and you haven't actually entered that relationship fully, where you are now full on being abused, you have a chance. But if you now remove that person away and you're saying I'm being private or whatever, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So I just want to put it out there. Timing is key, but don't seclude yourself.
Thank you, Jumoke. And talking about singles, one of my favorite, shows was when we had Vivian and Rotimi on the show on one of our debunking meets, and I think that we asked if the dating pool, shrinks the older you get, and we said sure, that's a fact. That really speaks. That jumped at me because very passionate about single people meeting, being in relationships. I go to great lengths to try to introduce people to one another, and it's so true, especially for women, that the older they get, the pool gets smaller. And of course, with the way things are today, people are barely going out, so even the opportunities to meet people, it's reducing. So now people have to look for other non-conventional ways to meet, maybe through introductions or even online. I heard a testimony of someone that met their spouse over Zoom. I mean, she attended a Zoom birthday party and she spoke, and somebody, some guy, liked the way she spoke, and today, all of that is history. They're in a relationship. So I was so happy when I heard that, and I guess just throw it out there for people to attend Zoom parties. You never know what is going to be.
Zuma.
Zoom in, Zoom bombing.
Yeah, but also, but also to encourage ladies, men, especially ladies, excuse me, to be open-minded, just be open. It doesn't mean you're excuse me, selling yourself cheap or anything like that, but you just never know. I mean, every time, just some weeks ago, I was talking to one of my friends. She came from Nigeria. She's visiting, and as she was talking to me, she was like, "Oh, my brother is helping us, watch about our business." I stopped her right there. I was like, "Wait, you have a brother?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Ah, you must be a very terrible friend. You have a brother, and I don't know you have a brother. How old is he?" She said, "Oh, he just turned 40." I said, "You have a 40-year-old brother that is single, and you know I'm here, always looking for." So I immediately got her brother's details, his Instagram page, everything. And I
Yeah.
said, "I'm introducing somebody to him right now." So right there and then, I sent a message, she spoke to him, and then I reached out to the lady I had in mind, and she was like, "Oh, sure." And I told her, I said, "Don't worry, I'm not saying anything should start, but at least just talk to him. In case you don't like him, maybe you may know somebody else that will like him. Let's just see how this goes." Unfortunately, things didn't work out, because, and interestingly, the what ticked her off was when he sent her a message on WhatsApp. He did not, how people abbreviate in Nigeria, like by the time they
Yes.
finish abbreviating, you can't
You're
read.
not sure you can speak
He was like,
properly yet.
she said,
Mm.
"Auntie Tutu, I can't deal." And I understood. I mean, I couldn't even tell her, "You know what, let's overlook that." I mean,
Somebody
somebody
else will say, bring the abbreviation, bring the
Just come,
she was
just
like,
do it. We'll
"Auntie
mend it
Tutu,
afterwards.
this guy is Raz, so."
Yeah.
She's like, "I can't deal. He's very Raz." But
Maybe that's why your friend didn't say anything all the while. Let me pack that in.
Abby, no,
Jeje.
but yeah, but let's just put it out there, like,
I hear
singles.
you.
Yeah, like, there are
Yeah.
some things we need to do. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy is very godly, I hear, but
Yeah.
honestly, nobody sees your spirit. People still see, they'll still see you physically, see some things you do. Yeah, so let's, just little things to watch out for.
Mhm.
That, these
Yeah.
things really matter,
It
as
was.
we
We'll
try
put
to.
a caveat that nobody is ready-made, but yes, you
Yeah.
are right. Because it could just be something that he would have, a bad habit that he could have fixed, and he could have started,
Exactly.
you
That was
know.
going to be my own take. Also, let's not be so
Yeah, because
crafty. Let's not
I
be.
don't know. I don't know about you ladies, but when I met my husband, everything wasn't, polished enough. We had to do some work, and it's been over 20 years now. So, ladies, be coming down. You understand?
You're right.
You
In
know,
fact,
be coming down. Everything does not have to be perfect in total. There's some things you got to work together. Be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is not good.
Well, you gotta be able to type a message on WhatsApp, please.
No, Jooms, trust me when I say that. Let me just say, like I said this, my husband, I was the one sending emails on his behalf sometimes in the past. Okay, so guess what? We dealt with that because I saw the
What
diamond
do
in
you
the
wear in
rough.
your 20s?
I understand.
but it's interesting you said that, because when I met my husband, and the first time he was going to take me on a date to the movies. Okay, so now this is a good red flag, a good flag, green flag. It might as well have been a red flag. So he was going to take. He said, "What do you like to do?" I said, "Oh, I like to go to the movies and everything." And you know, he when we were going, he packed the car and he brought out a map from his glove compartment, and he was looking at it, and I asked him, I said, "Please, why are you looking at this map?" He said, "Oh, he's trying to find the directions." And man, there was you could then you could go on Yahoo and print out directions. I was stunned. I'd never seen that, anything like that in my life. Somebody trying to read, like, actually read a map for the direction. That should have let me know about what the future. And then the next thing he said to me, we were going, I mean, of course, there's AMC, there's Regal Theater. My husband took me to this dingy movie theater where they show like old like movies that people are not watching in regular theaters. You know, it was a no-name movie theater. I should have known. Guess what? Fast forward to how many years later? The only time my husband goes to, you know, regular movie theater, that it's, you know, if the children or me insist, his favorite movies are those from those Western movies, even up till now, or, you know, those old movies where they don't talk, they're just watch, or, you know, cowboys, or, and, you know, I should have realized though when I met this man that, you know, this is what the future is like. He kuku showed me the sign, but I was too in love.
Please
That's
don't
so
ruin that
funny.
today.
On our first date, you know, he brought it because, you know, I had a job, my car was, you know, top of the line and everything, and, you know, he brings this car, and one of the door did not accompany the car in the beginning, and I had to enter the car. Ladies, you see my glory. You don't know the story. Do you understand? So sometimes, you know, you have to know your deal breakers. Okay, that wasn't, even though I was materialistic back when I was younger, and I should have never entered that car, but I thank God that the Holy Spirit pushed me in the car because my story is different today. So do you understand? So there are things that you need prayer to help you discern. But going into my favorite show was when we brought on uh the mental health situation, the mental health. And, you know, I felt that was very key, because one thing that Sister Tony had shared was that we go to the doctor for a headache or, you know, a body pain or something, but a lot of the stigma around, you know, seeking help for your mental health, you know, is still there, whereby you don't, you know, seek out professional help for certain things. And I'm not going to give a you know, too many spoilers about the series Made on Netflix. But one thing that movie tried to show is that mental health is as real, because one of the questions that I pulled from that is mental health, you know, as real or as serious as physical abuse? Sorry, what am I calling it?
Emotional abuse.
Emotional abuse is emotional abuse, because if you, in some parts of the movie, she tried to belittle what she was going through. And it was until she got education in the movie that no, it's the same, because there was a time where she was a shell of herself. She was actually a shell of herself. He never touched her, never once touched her. But the way he did, he like Lola had mentioned, they strip you of everything. They take everything and they box you in, financially, emotionally, socially, everything. So she was like a walking shell. And it moved me, and I applaud the movie for what they were trying to communicate, that this is really serious. Your emotional abuse is as, you know, bad as physical abuse. And nobody should belittle that, because when you are stripped of yourself, you have no self-esteem, all of that, it's really, really key. You need to seek professional help. Another question is, you know, is you know, are there biblical grounds to support divorce or separation in case of emotional health? I don't want to go too much into that today, because that would be another show, because if I say something, it needs to be fleshed out so that people don't misunderstand. But, you know, but one thing is this: you not being yourself. And I'm not talking about when you and your spouse get into fights and you feel offended by something they say, or they feel offended by something you say, and you are giving it back. I'm talking about whereby over the course of time, you see that this person is making you who you are not, making you feel bad about yourself constantly. Nothing you do will ever measure up to what they say. They do this Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. One minute they're crying on your shoulder that they need you, without you they'll kill themselves, and then you feel so helpless, like, oh, I'm his only life support and all of that. You have to be very careful. So that show brought out a lot of things, and I just could connect our mental health being priority. I could connect it to what that show was trying to say. And that was really, we need to prioritize our mental health. Very, very important.
Yes, I just wanted to add real quickly that the mental health, like Tosin said, is very important. Think of it as a slippery slope. If you don't stop the slide, you're just going to keep, if you don't interrupt the slide slowly, you're just going to keep, it gets worse. So just, it's very important. And you know how they say there's a thin line. It's actually a thin line between normal and a break in your mental health. So you wouldn't know if you're past, you wouldn't know. It's other people that would know, your children, if you have your spouse, what your parents, whatever. So if you can interrupt an abnormal pattern, do it now. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, ladies. I don't know if Lola, if anybody else had, or even Jooms, if you had a favorite episode you just wanted to take us back to. I think we have a few more minutes that we can take a one-liner if needed.
My favorite episode was the busting motherhood myths. That was, I think, our May episode, and I love it because, one, we had a lot of interaction in the chat box from other mothers, and it just reminded me how we all just try to figure this thing out. We're going by instinct. There's no book that came with this thing, and we're doing the best that we know how to do. But there were just a lot of funny stories shared, and we've talked about mothering over a course of several, it just happens to come up every episode, I actually feel like, where we refer back to this journey of motherhood. So I think that was one of my favorite ones, because we just really had a good time on that one. And I've seen, I think we should have a part 2 of that, maybe in season 3. Because I've seen several parenting, mothering things that have come up in social media as well, that I think could be addressed from a faith-based perspective.
That sounds fantastic. Looking forward to it already. Who hasn't given us? Jumoke, did you give us a favorite episode?
I don't know if I have a favorite episode. I've been chiming in that, with everybody. I like the generals. I like the red flag. I don't know if I have a favorite. I just I like different shows. I just wanted to add, when Lola was talking about the mothering thing, to the new mother out there, don't get frustrated. Don't get don't get frustrated. We all don't know what we are doing. So, until I became a mother, later on in life, that's what I did. My mother really didn't know what she was doing. She was just trying her best. So we don't know. Don't worry. Be encouraged. Okay? God, each day by day, just keep saying the Lord's Prayer every day. Don't worry. Nobody knows what they're doing. Some people are just blessed with, children that don't give them too much wahala, God is helping all of us. Nobody has it down pat. There's no handbook, there's no nothing. So be encouraged, don't worry, you'll be all right. And ask for advice from the ones that are ahead of you. Just talking about your experiences helps. Nobody has it down pat. Just talking about it, and then sometimes I'll pick up the phone, call one of my friends, hey, this is what I'm, and they will tell me something that is very useful to me, and I will use that, or I say something that they receive and it's useful to them. So don't be discouraged. That's it.
I wanted to say that I'm realizing that I am my mother in a lot of parts, and she's going to be happy that I'm saying this because she tried to accuse me. So, my daughter went out yesterday. She's in college now, and she went out yesterday, and I did not sleep till she got back into the dorm room because she said she had a party to go to. And this was, very late, wee hours of the morning. And I'm sitting there like, I cannot sleep until this girl gets back to her dorm room. She didn't know. Every time she would text me every 30 minutes, she didn't know that I was staying awake for her. But that's what my mom does. My mom wakes up, stays up, everything to make, even at this 40-something-year-old. If I'm traveling today, my mom is staying up. Did she land? Did she get there? And all of that. So, this mother thing, I don't think it ever stops because my mom shows me it doesn't stop. So
it doesn't stop. Just the last thing before we wrap up, I saw something the other day that one thing our kids don't realize is that we're growing up with them. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, we were growing up with them. What did I know when I was 20-something with my little boy who's now 18? So we're all growing up together. Like Jumoke said, we have no idea, just by the grace of God. But anyway, it's been a fun second season.
It has, and thank you, ladies, for making it happen. With all our varied schedules, I want to appreciate all the guys that showed up on the show this second season. It was amazing. I'm going to have more of them coming. We want to really thank everyone who filled in, who was a guest, and most importantly, to the people that once they see we're live, they just jump on. People that subscribed, Relationship with the Adenyke show is live, they just jump on. They were like, hello, ladies, we've been seeing them commenting. Thank you guys so much. Honestly, this is something that for some of us in this place, it's so out. I remember Lola, let me put you out there. Lola, when she speaks, I sit down like this, she's like the principal, just gaining from all her wisdom. But she was like, Adenyke, is this my take show? Is it audio? I said, no, your face will be seen. My friend went red. She said, I don't know. And everybody has brought,
I still can't watch past episodes. I've never watched a previous episode. Never.
Lola is like, no, but she shows up. And Jumi is like, because we all have different temperaments. I'm going over a little bit. We all have different temperaments. Jumi is like, Jumi, are you in the world? Are you in the country? She's like, just send me the schedule. What are we talking about today? 5 minutes to the show. What are we talking about? So she's like, ladies, I'm waiting. Our personalities are so different, and everybody makes it happen. Like Tutu would say, she'll take us in a different direction. Faye, honestly, I love my girls so much. I've been personally so blessed to have them as friends. I don't joke with it. And there are a lot of ladies that are watching that are our sisters, the women that are commenting, the men that are commenting. We are all family, and I want to appreciate it. We're looking forward to the next season. We're going to be jazzing things up a bit more. We were figuring it out as we went ahead, but we just felt that there's something we bring to society. There's something we bring to today's culture. And it might just be one person, and we get off the show and people watch afterwards. They'll text to text anybody, text me, they'll say, oh, I loved when this person said this, I loved when that person said that. So please, if you haven't, can you just subscribe to our channel? And do us a favor, once in a while, just share our videos. Just put it on your, on your WhatsApp story. Just let people know. Just put a topic that you like. Why don't you do us a favor as closing out? Why don't you take any episode you've liked, and it could be this one, and just put it on your WhatsApp story and say, I like when these girls gather together. I do enjoy. Subscribe to them. We would really appreciate it. And until we see everyone again next season, which would be early part of second quarter of next year. Bye from all of us. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.